If you are not legally protected in your business, you are leaving money on the table. Hey, I get it. The legal side of business can feel intimidating, but the good news is it doesn't have to be. If you want to build your business on a strong foundation, and if you want to know that your rights are protected when the unexpected happens with a client or a customer, then it's time to get legally protected. This means no more using free contracts that you downloaded off of the internet. This means partnering with a law firm that actually believes in your vision and can help you achieve it. This means legally protecting your brand so that no one can steal your good ideas. There are a lot of ways to grow and scale, but if you want to grow a strong business, it's time to get legally protected. If you're listening and resonating with this, then my signature service, the Legal Upgrade, just might be perfect for you. The Legal Upgrade is a straightforward, structured process to give your business the legal protection that it needs to thrive. Click the link in the show notes and schedule a call with me today. Hello and welcome to the Legal Upgrade Podcast. I'm your host, licensed attorney Christian Hammond. This podcast breaks down the legal side of business to reveal key legal strategies that can help you take your business to the next level. Please note that none of the following is legal, tax, investment, financial, or medical advice. Without further ado, let's get into the show. How can you enforce good boundaries with your clients? I am so passionate about this topic, and I am so excited to talk to you guys about it today because I want you as a business owner to be living a happy, fulfilled life as a business owner, and you are not going to be living a happy, fulfilled life if your relationship with your clients is fraught. So let's talk about today this topic. How do you enforce boundaries with your clients? So important, I think, no matter what kind of business you own. And let me say right off the bat that I believe in good customer service. In fact, I believe in excellent customer service. If you are or have been a client of mine, I hope you would agree that you got excellent customer service. So I'm about customer service, and I believe that you can deliver excellent customer service while still having really great boundaries. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So, first of all, what are some ways you might know that you do not have good boundaries with your clients? What are some things you might be experiencing if you don't have great boundaries with your clients? Maybe your clients are calling you at all hours of the day, using all possible methods of communication. They're calling you, they're texting you, they're messaging you on Slack, they're sending you DMs on Instagram, they are sending you messages over Skype. I see a comment here. Yes, work hours, like they are messaging you, emailing you, calling you all hours of the day using all possible methods of communication. There is like no limit on how your clients or your customers can have access to you. Smoke signals, everything, telegrams, exactly. That's one indication you might not have good boundaries established with your clients. Or maybe it's that clients are asking for work that they did not pay for. You know, it's the project that never ends. It's the project that just keeps expanding. Maybe they're asking for never-ending revisions. You've had a first draft, you've had a second draft, you've had a third draft. They're still not quite happy with it. They're still asking for changes. Maybe clients are not paying on time, or they're dodging your invoices. Or maybe the client is the one who's not responsive. You need answers from them. You need them to tell you what they want, and they are not responsive. And because they're not responsive, you're not able to make your deadlines. Or if maybe or maybe just the clearest indication that you do not have good boundaries with your clients or your customers is that honestly, you feel yourself starting to resent them. And when you start to feel like you are resenting your clients or your customers, that might be a good indication that you don't have good boundaries. And so, what can you do about that? What is the solution to that? And I've made some notes here. I have 5 principles that I believe as a business owner are really key to having great boundaries with your clients and to being able to give, yes, great customer service while also having great boundaries and therefore keeping your sanity. Because if you're not sane as a business owner, the business is going to suffer, your employees are going to suffer, your clients are going to suffer, everything's going to suffer if you're not feeling good and feeling sane. So let's jump into these 5 principles. And the first principle is I do believe that it is our responsibility as business owners to set the tone for the engagement, to set the tone for how our clients should treat us, how they should communicate with us, and the overall mechanics of how things are going to work. So, the first thing I would say is that it is not our client's fault if we have not been clear, crystal clear about setting the tone for how things are going to work, how things should work, and how they should be treating us. And one example for me is I don't do Zoom meetings. I don't. I hate Zoom. Honestly, I really hate Zoom. I find it really draining. Like the difference between being on a phone call versus being on a Zoom call for me is huge. If I spend all day on Zoom calls, I get to the end of the day, I do not feel good. I feel drained. I feel like I was giving twice the amount of necessary energy to get the work done. I do not like Zoom. So, one of my boundaries in my business is I really don't do Zoom calls. The only exception really are my international clients. So, if you are an international client of mine, if you are located outside of the US, then we have probably met over Zoom. If you're not an international client, if you are in the US, you have met with me through phone calls. And that is one of my boundaries. And that boundary helps me to show up so much better. Because again, guys, there's just something about Zoom. It just makes me feel like it takes more energy out of me. So having this boundary and having my clients meet with me by phone allows me to show up so much better for in my business and for all of my clients. And of course, I do get questions about this because Zoom has just become so common during the pandemic. And so people will ask, hey, are we meeting by Zoom? I can't find the Zoom link. And so this is something that I have to explain to my clients. No, actually, we're meeting by phone call. And oftentimes the other person will breathe a sigh of relief and say, oh, great. It's so great to get back to old fashioned phone calls. So that's just one example, but it is our job as the business owner to set the tone. It is our job to tell the clients how things are going to work. And so if you are having a client who's just reaching out to you all hours of the day using all methods of communication, or if they are not following your process, it's worth it to stop and ask, have you told them what the process is? Because it is our job as business owners to communicate that. So the first hard truth is that's our job. And so when clients are not following our process, we really have to ask ourselves, have we done a good job being crystal clear and communicating around what the process is? So that is my first principle of setting great boundaries with clients. My second principle of setting great boundaries with clients is that sales calls are not the same thing as a consultation. I'm going to say it again. Sales calls are not the same thing as a consultation. And let me ask you, have you had this experience? Have you found yourself having a conversation with a client and you go into it because you're trying to get the sale, but the the conversation keeps going and going and going, and instead you just find yourself giving out free advice. Um, if this is happening to you, then I think it is so key to draw this distinction between a sales call and a consultation, because prospects, a prospect being a potential, someone who is not yet a signed, sealed, and delivered client, prospects are like toddlers. Let me explain. Now, I do not have kids, but I like to say that I served my nickel working in my church nursery as a teenager. So I've done my fair share of childcare. I've done my fair share of babysitting. And I'm not saying that's the same thing as parenting, but I did learn a few things about kids. And I especially learned a few things about young kids. And what I learned about toddlers is that toddlers will test you. Toddlers are actually extremely intelligent. 3-year olds, 4-year olds, 5-year olds, they know what's going on. And even at that young age, they know what the rules are. You know, if you've ever babysat, then the parents probably left you a list of rules that the kids are supposed to be following, you know, the rooms that they're not allowed into, what they are and are not allowed to eat, how many hours of television they're allowed to watch. So what I discovered is that kids are smart, and even at a very young age they know the rules, but they will still test you to see whether you will enforce the rules. As young as 2 years old, they will go into the room they're not supposed to be in. They will try to watch more TV or watch, maybe a little older for this, but 5, 6, 7, 8. They will try to get you to let them watch the movies they're not supposed to be watching. They will ask for the foods that they are not allowed to have. They will test you. And they're testing you because they know what the rules are. But they're going to see if you're going to enforce those rules. Well, guess what? Prospects, prospective clients are the same way. Prospects know that if they want services, they can expect to sign a contract and pay a retainer. They know that. Most people know that. So it's not that they don't know that your time is valuable. It's not that they don't know that you are a service provider. They are testing you. Prospects will test you. They will, they'll just see how much they can get for free. And if you're honest, you've done this too. I know I have. If I'm honest, I have done this too, whether it was with service providers or maybe I needed something done for my home or whatever it is. I have definitely tested the waters to see what I could get for free. So I'm not here to knock anybody, but I am here to say, as a business owner, be aware of this. You do it, so other people do it too. People will test the waters to see how much you will give away for free. And I think this does not matter what industry you are in, whether you are a CPA providing tax advice, whether you are a personal trainer helping people to get in shape, whether you are someone who renovates homes or designs homes, whatever it may be, people will test you to see how much they can get out of you for free. And if you're not careful, your sales calls will turn into consultations. So, what is the difference between a sales call and a consultation? To me, they are very different things. A sales call is, well, I would say a sales call to me is two things. A sales call is a very fair giving of information of what it's like to work with you. It's very fair for people to ask, how long is this going to take? How much is it going to cost? What is your process? What is going to be expected of me to make this transaction work? All very fair questions. It is also your opportunity to paint a picture of how working with you is going to change the client's situation. It is your opportunity to paint a picture of here's where you are and here is where I'm going to take you. That is a sales call. A consultation involves the giving of advice. And advice is actionable information. So if you're an interior designer and and you're having what is supposed to be a sales call, and the prospect is asking you specific questions. Which couch should I buy? Should I use warm colors or cool colors in here? Specific questions. Answering that is actionable advice, and in my opinion, that involves in the realm that should be in the realm of a paid consultation. And so, what do you do when you're in a sales call where you're trying to give that very crucial information that someone needs to have to be able to work with you? What do you do when you're in a sales call and someone asks you for specific advice? Well, you might have your own method, but my method is that is an opportunity to paint a picture for them. I'm going to use the interior design example. Let's say someone asks, and I'm not an interior designer. So if you are an interior designer, please don't come for me. This is not my industry. I'm just making this up. But if someone asks, like, should I use warm colors or cool colors in this space? I think that an answer in that situation is that is exactly that is exactly one of the things that we are going to discover through my process. That is exactly one of the things that I'm going to help you figure out. And in this process, we're going to work together like this. And in this process, we're going to do this assessment. And I'm going to get to know what makes you feel good in your space. And I'm going to get to know what helps you de-stress after work. And based on that, we're going to make that determination. Do you see how that conversation pivots things away from answering that question and giving advice to painting the picture of how we are going to work together and how working with you is going to change things in the prospect's life? That pivot, I think, is so crucial because, again, a sales call is not the same thing as a consultation. And if you are constantly entering into sales calls and finding yourself giving away free advice, then that is probably sapping your energy. That is probably a way in which you don't have a good boundary. And if you're honest with yourself, it's probably taking time away from the clients who have actually paid, the clients you should be giving that really high quality advice to. So, my personal second principle is that sales calls are not the same thing as consultations. Now, my third principle of setting really great boundaries with clients is that the first step to setting boundaries is having a really great contract in place. We talked about my first principle, which is that it's our responsibility to be clear and to set the tone and to communicate what the boundaries are. Well, the way those get communicated is through a really great contract. And this is why I'm not at all a fan of business owners using free contracts that are just like downloaded off of Google because those contracts are not specific to the industry. They are not specific to the business. A lot of times they have outdated laws in there or they have just straight up wrong law in there. I am not a fan of just going on the internet and downloading, the first thing that you can find. I'm not a fan of it. And it's because a really great contract, yes, it's here to protect your legal rights 100%. But for me, a contract is one of the best ways to establish and enforce boundaries, which means it's one of the best ways to make sure that you are a happy business owner in your business. And if the contract is just really bare bones and does not get into kind of the things that need to make the relationship work, in my mind, that's just not, maybe it's a good starting point, but in my mind, that's not what makes a great contract. What makes a great contract is a contract that makes it very clear, how do they communicate with you? Is it phone? Is it Zoom? Is it texting? Slack, Skype, Microsoft Teams, whatever it is. It makes it super clear. How are we going to communicate? And when are we going to communicate? When are my office hours? When are my business hours? A really great contract makes it clear how many revisions you get. Do you get a first draft and a final draft? Do you get more drafts? Are there costs associated with that? It makes it clear how many revisions you get. And that's connected to making it very clear what the scope of work is so that we are not experiencing project creep, so that we are not ending up with the project that never ends, kind of this ever creeping creature that keeps getting bigger. And all of a sudden, they've only paid this much money, but they've gotten all these deliverables. No, 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 no. A great contract is meant to prevent that from happening. A great contract, depending on your industry, might need to be really clear on expectations for client response times. This is actually in my own contract. I'm a lawyer, I own a law firm, and for me to do my best work, I need to have answers from my clients within a certain amount of time. So it's in my contract. It's in my contract. And if I don't hear from people, if they disappear, if they fall off the face of the earth, I have the right to end the engagement. Why? Because I can't do my best work. I cannot deliver top-notch customer service without timely responses from my clients. It's crucial to my business, so it's in the contract. And then, of course, contracts should be really clear about the money because we are in business to serve, but we are also in business to make money. So, a great contract is clear not only about how much things cost, but it's also clear about what is the late fee if the payment is late? What is the rush fee if people need this done in 12 hours or less? What happens if things end early? What happens if the project ends early? Is the deposit refundable? Yes or no? Can a client just duck out of a $50,000 contract? Yes or no? These are all, no right or wrong answer, but these are all things that a great contract addresses and makes clear. In fact, it makes it crystal clear so that we don't have to wonder, so that we don't have to fight over they said in this email and 6 months ago, and I can't remember. No, 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 no. We don't want to have to go into that. We want to have an excellent contract that makes all of that super, super clear. So, my third principle is great boundaries start with a great contract that is customized not only to the industry, but also to the business. My fourth principle, running out of air here. My fourth principle of having really great boundaries with clients is exercising leadership when things start to go off track. Now, I believe that no matter what business you are in, clients are going to have some kind of emotion around it. This is only natural. If you're in the real estate industry, maybe you're a realtor helping people buy and sell their homes, then you know that is extremely emotional. If you are in the healthcare field, maybe you're a doctor, a dentist, I don't have to tell you that can be very emotional. If you are in the fitness field or maybe the nutrition field, you're trying to help people get tone, lose weight, reach their health goals, that's emotional. If you are an interior designer or if you're in construction, a contractor, you're making changes to people's home or you're helping them fundamentally change their space, that's emotional. If you're a career coach or a life coach, even if you are a CPA doing taxes, I truly believe it does not matter what industry you are in, what business you have, it is emotional for your client on some level. Can we all agree with that? That no matter what you are helping someone do, the kind of the whole definition of a service provider, you're providing a service. And no matter what the service is, on some level, it's emotional for the client. And what that means is that during the course of that project, during the course of that engagement, your client might have some emotions about what's going on. And guess what? That's okay. It's okay because you're helping them, especially if you're helping them with something big and significant. And a lot of us are, you know? So your client might have some emotions around that, and that's okay. And I think that exercising great leadership in those moments looks like reorienting your client around the vision, reminding your client what their goals are, reminding the client what they want their end result to be, and recognizing when your client is starting to spiral and being a leader in that moment to remind them about the vision. Because especially if you are a service provider and your results are delivered over a long period of time. Again, maybe you are in the health space, you're helping someone to lose weight. That's a long-term process. Maybe it's a year-long program. Maybe you're a coach, that's a year-long program. I'm a lawyer. Legal cases are long. They're very long, over a year. So, especially if you are a service provider and what you provide does not result in instant gratification. They're not just pressing play on Amazon and it's going to be there in 2 days. If you are providing a service and instant gratification is not necessarily part of that process, if you provide a service over a long period of time, sooner or later, you are probably going to have to be a leader and reorient your client to their original vision and help them exercise resiliency through the process, even though it's taking a long time. That is a higher level of leadership. But that is part of what is required, I think, to be an excellent business owner and to be an excellent service provider. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I do it perfectly every time, but it is something that I try to intentionally exercise. And it's something that I encourage you to grow into and learn how to intentionally exercise. You are not just a business owner. You are not just doing this transaction. You are leading your client somewhere, because the whole reason they hired you is because you're supposed to be an expert. You're supposed to be really good at this. You're supposed to be the professional. And I don't think being a professional is this dry, emotionless thing. I think that being a really excellent professional involves being emotionally intelligent, involves being compassionate to your client when the thing that they want to accomplish is a very important thing, which means it might be a 1-2 year longer thing. Being compassionate to that and being able to lead your client through that long process. So, my fourth principle is about exercising leadership when things start to drift off track, and when things start to drift off track of the boundaries and the framework and the tone that you've set for the engagement. And then last but not least, my fifth and last principle around setting really great boundaries with your clients is that if you've done these things, or maybe if you didn't even do them perfectly, knowing that it is okay to fire a client. Yes, I have done this in my own business. On May 15th, I will have been in business for 4 years. And in the almost 4 years I've been in business, I've probably fired 3 clients. So I guess I'm averaging, maybe I fire a client every 18 months because I'm not perfect and my vetting process is not perfect. And so once in a while, I find myself in a position where I have to fire a client. And my fifth and last principle is that is okay. And again, we want to be good at setting the tone. We want to make sure as business owners that we are being good about communicating the boundaries, communicating the expectations, setting the tone for the engagement. And we want to make sure that we're being good leaders and that we're being compassionate toward our clients. But if all else fails, it is okay to fire a client. And again, this goes back to the importance of having a really great contract, because I cannot tell you how many times I have gone to review a contract for a client because a situation went south and there was either no termination clause, or there was not a sufficient termination clause that would have allowed them to exit the situation in a way that would not be damaging to them. And that is so crucial. With all the other things that a contract should cover, a really great contract needs to cover termination. Because if things go south, you're going to want to get out of that project. You're going to want to get out of that client relationship. It is very, very, very rare that I sign any kind of contract that does not have a clear termination clause that allows me to terminate if there is good cause to do so. very rare, extremely rare, because you never know what is going to happen. And so that is just one reason of many that having a good, custom, accurate contract in business is so important. And again, if all else fails, knowing that as a business owner, it is okay to fire a client. All right. That is all I have. I was very passionate and very passionate about this topic, like I said, because I want you as a business owner to be happy in your business, to be fulfilled in your business. And if your relationship with your clients is all over the place, you're not going to feel happy or fulfilled in your business. So I hope that this has been helpful to you to not only recognize the signs that maybe some better boundaries need to be in place, but also to have some tools for how to start on that process. So, thank you guys so much for being here today, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. The Legal Upgrade Podcast is a Bevel Law production. For more information about the Legal Upgrade, you can follow on Instagram at Bevel Law or find even more information on the website bevellaw.com. If you enjoyed the episode, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. See you next time on the Legal Upgrade Podcast.